you see me? I suppose I get no feedback, but I'd like to introduce you to Paul Curtis, who is the designer of the Eigenflow ECMO simulator, and we're going to demonstrate a little bit today about what this thing can do for you. But while we are demonstrating this, we want to be sure we take all the safety precautions that we can. So, thank you very much.
Always be prepared when you do ECMO. Never know what can happen.
So, now that we're ready to do safe ECMOing, in all seriousness, what you see here is the CentraMag circuit set up here.
Pause for a second. We're having audio trouble.
Oh,
I can't hear.
Rats. Really well.
Outstanding.
Testing, testing.
1, 2, 3.
All right, go ahead and start over.
Outside?
No, right where you are.
Okay. Well, hopefully everyone can hear us now. Again, we want to be sure we don the safety gear necessary for doing safe ECMO simulation. So, as you can see, so if you didn't hear the introduction before, this is Paul Curtis. He's an engineer who has designed an ECMO simulation unit. So this integrates with an ECMO circuit, so it's great because you can integrate it with whatever circuit that you have at your institution. So irrespective of what that is, you can learn on your own stuff. We're going to put this thing through its paces a little bit, or Paul will, and demonstrate some of the really cool things and scenarios that this can simulate. And I'll point out some of the numbers that are changing and things along the way here, as some of those numbers are too small probably to see even on your big screen. So without further ado, we've got a projection up here of what the pressures are in the arterial system, what the venous saturation is in the hemoglobin, etc. And over here we have recorded what the ACT is and how much flow there is. Our CentraMag here is set at 2,600 RPMs. We have a flow of 3.8 liters per minute. You can see here the head is over here and the oxygenator is over here. I feel like Vanna White a little bit. So, Paul, I think you're going to go through one scenario here.
Yeah. So what we're going to do first, on the Eigenflow, we have it connected both to the arterial and the venous side of the circuit. So this is pre and post oxygenator. So right now we're going to simulate something that you might encounter after a long run of ECMO, something called an oxygenator clot, oxygenator failure. So what we're going to do is we're going to slowly create resistance on the post-oxygenator side of the circuit. So as I start creating resistance on my iPhone app here, I'm basically just dialing this down and making more resistance on the circuit. You'll actually see the flow rate, Dr. Bunnell, go down on your CentraMag. And if you look carefully on your pressure transducer on that side, you'll see it also increase, giving you a sign that there might be something wrong on a certain side of your circuit.
So indeed, the flow, same RPMs here, 2,700, and as we talked about with increased afterload, flow goes down with the centrifugal pump. We're down to 1.6 liters of flow now. And if we look at our pre-oxygenator pressure meter, it has ascended. We now have 158 millimeters of mercury pressure drop going across the oxygenator.
And so at this point, you take the necessary measures to discuss with your team what should be done next, and I will conclude this little short demonstration and open the circuit back up. So now we're running back at the flow rate that we were set to at the very beginning.
So I think we have another simulation where you can simulate a hypovolemia or venous cannula malposition scenario. Again, this is great because he can run this all behind the scenes just using an app on his phone.
Okay. You can see the movement now in it too.
So I don't know if you can appreciate this from there, but here the venous line here is chugging, which simulates either a problem with volume or a problem with the venous cannula properly positioned. So the flows have dropped down. They're jumping around between 0.8 liters a minute and about 1.5 liters a minute, which is exactly what you would see in this scenario in a patient. Those of you who were taking care of our recent patient saw exactly this phenomenon happening. So again, the intent would be the learners in this case would be prompted to make a diagnosis of the problem and then take measures to correct that. And as they act appropriately or inappropriately, then the behind the scenes, the Wizard of Oz here, so to speak, in this case Paul, can make the appropriate behind the scenes manipulations of the circuit. So I just gave a liter of saline, and voila, we're back up to 3.7 liters of flow.
So for this next scenario, it can be pretty tricky. Once it happens to you, it's kind of all hands on deck.
Yeah, so this will conclude the scenario here, because after this, well, you'll understand when you see it, but this is a real problem with ECMO, and those of you who have done it know that this is something that certainly happens. You have to know how to get out of this. You have to act quickly. You have to recognize it. And up until now, there's not been a great way to simulate this phenomenon without having somebody come up and obviously sabotage the circuit. So what we're going to simulate here is an air embolism, which is just as you described, but you suck air into the circuit and the whole thing sort of goes crazy. You have to then work to take the thing apart and de-air the whole circuit, and this gives you an opportunity to practice that, or recognize it and then practice it in the lab so that when it happens to your patient, you know what to do. So, Paul, you want to give us an air embolism?
Here we go.
So you can see instantly we got an airlock in the pump. It's foaming up, just as you would see in somebody if you disconnected the cannula, had it slip out a little bit, or there are a whole variety of reasons why you can have somebody suck air. Even just not being careful, putting a central line in above a venous cannula can give you this sort of trouble. So,
And on the pump, we're running at zero flow right now.
yeah, the pump is absolutely stopped. I've silenced the alarms so they aren't going off, but they would be going off, of course. So, really useful tool. Of course, when you were doing the simulations, we wouldn't have it sitting up necessarily right on a table, so you would know what was happening. You can put this under the bed, park it away, so you can't actually see what's happening. But any last comments, Paul?
No, we just hope to throw you guys through some of your paces tomorrow with this eigenflow and learn a lot from it. So we're excited to use it.
Yeah, so we're excited to have Paul here and to be in this partnership with him to offer this simulated learning. We'll be, for those of you staying for the wet lab simulations tomorrow, we'll be featuring this. I'm Steve Taylor, and I want to see you driving an eigen.